Please welcome Tim Davie.
Thank you very much. Thank you. It's been a very interesting morning so far, and what I wanted to do was just talk a little bit about what the BBC are doing and why I'm here, which is some people find quite strange. I mean, the BBC's other booking actually is the Levinson Inquiry over the next couple of weeks, so I've got the good booking actually. But people often ask why the BBC are here, and I just want to explain over the next few minutes why I feel so passionately that commercial radio, and actually I'm going to make kind of challenge some of the advertisers in the room to play a part in growing what I think is a really, really powerful medium. My background, for what it's worth, is not just running public service radio stations and spending your money that way. I actually have a past as an advertiser. So in my background, I used to run the marketing for Pepsi worldwide. And actually, at one point, I was actually paying Foxy quite a lot of money to do the Pepsi chart show, which we had a great run on way back when, too long ago. So I've spent a lot of money on radio as on the client side as well. And frankly, still remain incredibly passionate about what it delivers for brands. I think what I won't do is just give you the standard spiel on why radio is so powerful. Many traditional businesses, of which even some of the more consumer goods businesses in the room, I'm sure, have gone through the trauma of what the digital age means. The music business has gone through it. We've seen enormous change, revenue declines, revenues up. The truth is, if there was a crisis of confidence in some of these traditional media businesses, I think last year was the year which they got over it. We've had consistent growth in listening on radio. Time and time again, the proposition has stood up. A mobile, live. I mean, frankly, we all talk about new media interaction. I can't exist for about 10 minutes without looking at my BlackBerry. I really need remedial treatment. But the truth is, when I wake up in the morning, I don't want too much interaction. I just want to listen to Radio 4. And some of the day parts, some of the things we stand for are incredibly powerful and have held up. Importantly, and it's interesting, the Facebook comments, in our research, there is no doubt for most of the population, the deepest relationship in media is with their radio station. That's why whenever I make changes to the Radio 4 schedule or potentially make all these kind of announcements around services, it is like open heart surgery. And if you want to look at my email inbox, I can prove to you quite categorically that it is the strongest relationship in media. So we get to a point now where actually radio's had a really good run over the last few years, surprisingly, and I think we've kind of got over any kind of crisis of confidence. In fact, we haven't been through the trauma that some of the music businesses and others have been through. We've held up. We've actually grown listening. Amazing. Grown linear listening. And actually our control of things like day parts in the morning, drive, we are in an unassailable position. And I don't say that with any kind of assumption that will hold it forever, but the facts, historical facts. You then get to a point where, and it's a question I've been turning my mind to over the last few months, which is, okay, so we've survived. It's been great. It's been fantastic. We've had some brilliant innovation around commercial radio, the BBC. Can we actually grow this industry? Is it a growth play rather than a survival play? And I'm more and more convinced that radio can become a growth play, but it will need innovation, it will need partnerships, and critically need creative renewal. The two things to that point that will drive growth in my mind are, and are really quite dependent on this room as a very kind of wide array of people, are firstly that last point I made, which is creative renewal. Creative ideas fuel creative industries. You can talk about technology and distribution. My wife does not really want to talk about DAB. She wants to talk about what's coming out of the radio and the quality of that idea. And the truth is, online rapidly increases the potential for creative individuals to do things of wonder. Let's take Melvyn Bragg, mentioned earlier by the Minister, as well as complaining about the fire alarms in Salford, thank you. Melvyn Bragg, if you go to The Written Word, the series we've just done, which is a really interesting series, kind of Beowulf all the way through from Newton's diaries to how writing has developed. It's something I'm very interested in terms of something we can take a bit further. And by the way, if you think audiences aren't interested in being stretched intellectually, we've never had a time where we feel more bullish in terms of people's ability to be taken through ideas, be stretched. This is a complex time. People want context. In the written word series, if you go in there, you'll see linkage through to things like the Cambridge Digital Library that are now digitizing. I mentioned Newton. You can go and look at Newton's notebooks from when he was at Cambridge, and you can read them and go through them. You can then link it back to the program. The really great creative editors and curators have never had it so good. They can get their ideas to be more, and this is the same with brand owners. They can get their idea, if their ideas are loved and engaged in, they are having the time of their lives. If they don't have something that people care about, they're struggling. It is just a more brutal time, but it's a more exciting time. The second growth strategy is rapid innovation. I think we have been slightly slow in some regards in terms of innovation, and others have built multi-billion-pound businesses, as we've just heard, while the radio industry has been, largely worried about sustaining a traditional media. It's worked, but I think we can be much more aggressive about our innovation now. And we're having some signs over the last few years we've been doing things together that suggest that growth is out there. The BBC, very simply put, wants to be part of this because I have two beliefs. One is competition drives growth. As an ex-Pepsi guy, that kind of probably rings true, which is competition drives growth. And if you're interested in the BBC will be better if there's growth. We do not want to be in a position where we don't have a very healthy commercial radio market. It would be ridiculous for us not to argue that. And I genuinely believe that. That's not political flannel, frankly. It's in the Parliament building. But it is absolutely core to my beliefs that you need a growing commercial sector. And I don't think the radio market's working unless we've got that fact. The second thing is I think great innovation comes often through partnership. So I come from a background where we did Freeview together in the free-to-air television market. That definitely led to lots of opportunities, new channels, but also securing linear television viewing, which is incredibly important. Partnership can lead to a lot of growth. So what are we doing about it? Well, here's the three things I think we have been doing that are kind of working. I said that some of the signs are there. And I think they're all things that you will recognize in all of your businesses and organizations. The first is we've just been simply getting the industry match fit in terms of, I call it match fit, but metadata, things like Radio Player, you all need to get your data sorted. So if I talk to the editor of Woman's Hour, the editor of the Chris Moore Show, just getting ourselves fit so we have the right linkage into the digital world has been a job in itself for a traditional industry. I can tell you we're there now. The quality of the data is good. Radio Player forced that as well. We now have the quality of data. It's not, there's always jobs to be done in this in terms of tidying, sorting, cleaning, working with the right way that you appear on apps and Facebook and all that, and the partnerships. But broadly speaking, we're there in terms of the quality of the data. The second thing is we've begun establishing common platforms. So the Radio Player was very important. I called it a quiet breakthrough. It was simply an idea that the radio industry gets together, can present itself in one unified position to things like YouView, IPTV, Facebook, all the things that are coming, where radio absolutely needs to be an integral part, and I think will be. And this allows us to look in the future at things where we could work together. I mean, we've talked about things like local data, geotagging, which could be very useful for advertisers, could be very useful for a whole load of things. There's no reason, weirdly, to think, why does the BBC want it? Well, the BBC could provide public data to you about your locality. Very interesting. Government are very interested in this area as well, in terms of how online they could deliver services, how we could deliver local information. Meanwhile, advertisers could deliver local content very powerfully and much more personalized. So this can be a very, very symbiotic relationship in which technology can grow both sides. And finally, we've begun experimenting. We've experimented all kind of things like HD sound and bits and pieces. Some of it we've been in partnership with universities. I'm very interested in audio. Actually, if you look at the growth of headphones, HMV's, one of HMV's only growth sectors this Christmas. But those of you with children will know that Beats headphones, Skull Candy, all these guys, how do you take the sound? Where is sound quality going? There is actually some really interesting work in the States, in California. One of the labs at the moment is testing 512 channel sound, which can replicate more perfectly than anything else the sounds that are coming into the human ear when you hear someone talking to you. These are the kind of things that are out there that the UK industry needs to be leading on. I've got a very short video, then I'll shut up, that just looks at some of our innovations, just a little slideshow with some audio, because we haven't heard some radio yet, have we?
Listening to BBC Radio online is simple.
Because all of the BBC's radio stations are available on your computer.
In one easy-to-use player. With just a few clicks.
You can listen live or catch up.
To BBC programmes from the last 7 days. All at your fingertips.
With the new radio player, you can listen online to all the BBC radio you love.
Something tells me she realizes she's a game away from winning this. Shockingly good.
She couldn't have asked for it to go any better this game.
Radio 1's brand new website. Sign in and you'll get to use our new love button. Push it when you spot something you love. Recommendations to related sessions, interviews, videos and more. And add the DJs you love to your personal list of favourites.
You've added me to the DJs you love. Thank you.
Go to the brand new Radio 1 website now and start pushing our love button.
The new Desert Island Discs website, with over 500 editions for you to download for free and keep forever, allowing you to enjoy the Castaways choices again and again and again.
It's wonderful. Beethoven's Ninth Symphony.
Available now at bbc.co.uk/Radio 4.
If you go to your TV and press the red button on any BBC channel, you can still see this studio. Yay! Have you looked, Joe? Are you teasing yourself?
No, I've seen it. Do you want the new total?
Yes, please.
As of 10:10 this morning, the total is £2,406,648.
Great. That just gives you an idea over 12 months, some of the experimentation. Interestingly, you see the merging of audio content versus visual. I'm not a big fan of visualizing radio as such, i.e. just pointing a webcam and showing someone, that's fine. But actually curated visualization, i.e. how we can package things up. I mean, interestingly, the Elbow concert in Manchester that we edited up, over 1 million people watched. And that would be a very fine audience on a digital TV channel. So finally, just to wrap up, I think it is a pretty exciting time. We need ideas. The strategies I'll be deploying over the next 12 months, and it's a very, very exciting 12 months, by the way. I mean, radio as part of what's going on through 2012. This is a brilliant opportunity for people, creative people, to get tucked into a very, very interesting year. We're also playing some big stuff in 13 as well, because we're worried there might be in the hangover period. But I think the two things I will be looking for is, obviously, to repeat myself, that creative shape and impact. I think not for the BBC, but for others, new services, although things like the Olympic opt-out service, we've said, we'll do a temporary service. Visualization, how that works, what's the right visualizations, and sound quality, how far can we take that? And then I'll be looking for powerful distribution through partners. So whether it's Facebook, IPTV, radio really wants to get out there, and YouView, all the various things that are happening. You're going to see radio on the front foot rather than kind of buried in that. I think radio player, there's some very interesting developments going on in terms of how kind of forward-looking we can be on that, and right kind of in your face as opposed to traditional and dusty in the shed, as it were. So thank you very much, and keep your ideas coming for us. Thank you.
I suppose since the conference is Redefining Radio, the question you probably get asked the most and have an off-the-cuff answer ready to go with is, your job title doesn't have the word radio in it. Do you think the word radio is in danger of becoming redundant, and we should think about it more in terms of audio?
I don't know. Every time I describe my job to people, I go, "I'm director of audio and music. I run BBC Radio." So
right.
I think we've. I mean, I think there's something around in kind of organisations and business to signal an intent. So I don't think radio as a descriptor is dead.
Yeah.
To limp towards an answer. I don't think radio as a descriptor is dead. I think audio signals an intent, which is it is not device bound, and I think that is where we're heading. And we're already kind of there. The offer is not device bound, no. And if radio is linked to a box, frankly, it's with some regret, but we're moving to a screen world.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a bit old-fashioned with my cards, my two cards here, and you guys are just making a point. But the screen, we're moving to a screen world. Those of you with children probably regulate screen time. And whether it's 40 inches or a small, I give my children time on the screen. So I think radio needs to accept that and just get on with it and kind of enjoy it rather than be threatened by it.
A question here says, how is Radar going to measure internet radio? Because there's a big disparity between the numbers.
That's a great question. We've got a bit of a classic executive answer to this, but we've got a group of people now working with Radar. So noted. What they're doing is just trying to look at the listening that we record in Radar, which is very robust, and put that against some of the real-time numbers that are coming in. I think longer term, I think Radar will be one measurement rather than the traditional Radar diary will be one part of the measurement of the industry. I mean, if you look at Radio 1 now, I look at Facebook traffic, I look at a contact map. And I think the way we're going to look at, the whole contact map needs to be looked at. Having said that, Radar is still absolutely valid and is, the vast majority of the listening. The wonderful thing about this, I didn't mention it, only 0.34% of radio is on demand. Huge opportunity. Yeah. Huge opportunity. But it tells you the power of live, and Radar is solid and a brilliant currency for that.
Thank you very much. Tim Davie.
Thanks.